Ever heard of a bank heist that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood movie script? I'm talking about a meticulously planned robbery, a hand-dug tunnel, and a multi-million-dollar score. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the Bank of America tunnel robbery in Washington. It was August 2005, a seemingly ordinary weekend in the town of Kent, Washington. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary was happening. A group of thieves was about to pull off one of the most audacious bank heists in American history. They weren't using guns, they weren't using explosives, and they weren't taking hostages. Their weapon of choice was a shovel. The target was a Bank of America branch located in a busy commercial area. To the unsuspecting public, it was just another bank. But to our thieves, it was the final destination at the end of a long, dark journey. Their plan was as bold as it was brilliant: dig a tunnel from a nearby wooded area, straight into the bank's vault. This wasn't just a whim, it was a project that required incredible engineering, patience, and a whole lot of digging. Let's set the scene. Imagine a dense patch of woods, just a stone's throw from the bank. It's the perfect cover. Hidden from prying eyes, the crew began their work. They started by digging a vertical shaft, a deep hole that would be their entry point into the underworld they were about to create. From there, they began to tunnel horizontally, inch by painstaking inch, towards their prize. The tunnel itself was a marvel of amateur engineering. It stretched approximately 200 feet. That's almost the length of a professional hockey rink, underground. It was narrow, just wide enough for one person to crawl through. To prevent it from collapsing, the thieves had shored up the walls and ceiling with wooden supports, just like in an old mine shaft. They even ran an electrical line through the tunnel to power their tools and light their way. This was no amateur hour. This was a serious, well-thought-out operation. Think about the sheer physical effort involved. Digging through dirt, rocks, and roots, day after day, in a cramped, dark, and probably very damp space. They had to haul out all the excavated soil, disposing of it carefully so as not to raise suspicion. It's estimated the project took months. Months of secret, back-breaking labor, all leading up to one single weekend. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. The thieves burrowed their way up from the tunnel and broke through the concrete floor of the Bank of America vault. They were in. Inside, they found what they had been working so hard for: safe deposit boxes. Hundreds of them, filled with cash, jewelry, and other valuables belonging to the bank's customers. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of trying to crack the vault's main safe, which would have been much more difficult and time-consuming, they focused on the individual safe deposit boxes. Using pry bars and other tools, they forced open box after box, grabbing everything they could. And then, just as quietly as they came, they were gone. They retreated back through their tunnel, leaving behind a scene of utter chaos for the bank employees to discover on Monday morning. When the staff arrived, they were met with a gaping hole in the floor of their supposedly impenetrable vault. The thieves had vanished without a trace, taking with them an estimated haul of cash and valuables. Initial reports were all over the place, but the value was certainly in the millions. The investigation that followed was like something out of a detective novel. The FBI was called in, and they were baffled. They had a crime scene, a giant hole in the ground, and a 200-foot tunnel, but no suspects. The thieves had been incredibly careful. They left behind very little evidence. No fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses. It was the perfect crime. Investigators explored the tunnel, documenting the impressive construction. They found the tools left behind: shovels, pickaxes, and even a wheelbarrow. They followed the trail of excavated dirt, which had been cleverly dispersed throughout the woods. But the trail went cold. The masterminds behind this incredible feat of criminal engineering had simply disappeared into thin air. The case remained a mystery for years. The sheer audacity and skill of the robbery made it a local legend. Who were these guys? Were they professional miners? Construction workers? It seemed they had to have some specialized knowledge to pull this off. The media dubbed them the tunnel rats. For a long time, it seemed like the tunnel rats had gotten away with it. The case files gathered dust, and the leads dried up. But in law enforcement, patience is a virtue. And sometimes, a little bit of luck, or a mistake by the criminals, can change everything. Years passed. The 2005 tunnel heist was slowly becoming a piece of local folklore. But the FBI doesn't just forget about multi-million-dollar bank robberies. They kept the case open, hoping for a break. And that break eventually came, not from a smoking gun, but from a completely different investigation. Agents were looking into a string of other and related crimes. During that investigation, they started to hear whispers. Chatter on the street. Someone bragging, someone letting a detail slip. You know how it goes. A small thread of information can unravel a giant conspiracy. The feds started connecting the dots, pulling on that thread, and it led them right back to the Bank of America tunnel. The key to unlocking the case turned out to be one of the crew members. As is often the case, the weakest link in any criminal enterprise is the human element. Greed, jealousy, or just a guilty conscience can lead people to talk. And when they talked, the FBI was listening. Slowly, the identities of the men behind the heist began to emerge. They weren't some international team of super thieves. They were a group of local guys, some with construction experience, who had hatched this crazy plan and actually had the determination to see it through. The investigation revealed even more incredible details about their planning. They had apparently studied the bank's blueprints. They'd done extensive surveillance, timing security guard patrols and understanding the building's layout. They chose the wooded area specifically because it offered the best cover and the most direct route to the vault. Their disposal of the dirt was also genius. They used a wheelbarrow to haul the dirt out of the tunnel and then spread it thinly across the forest floor, covering it with leaves and branches. To anyone walking through the woods, it would have been completely unnoticeable. They thought of everything. But they made one fatal mistake. They talked. And eventually, that talk led to arrests. The mastermind, and several of his accomplices, were finally brought to justice. It was a stunning end to a story that had captivated the region for years. So, what happened to the money and the valuables? Well, that's another part of the mystery. While the thieves were caught, much of the loot was never recovered. It had likely been sold off, spent, or hidden away so well that it may never be found. For the victims, the people who had their life savings and precious heirlooms stored in those safe deposit boxes, it was a devastating loss. The Bank of America tunnel robbery stands as a testament to human ingenuity, albeit for criminal purposes. It's a story that blurs the line between reality and fiction. You could write a movie about it, and people would say it's too unbelievable. But it really happened. A group of men, with shovels and a dream of striking it rich, dug their way into a bank vault and pulled off one of the most memorable heists in modern history. It is a reminder that sometimes the most effective security threat isn't a hacker 1,000 miles away, but someone with a pickaxe right under your feet. The bank, of course, reinforced its security measures significantly after the incident. You can bet they started paying a lot more attention to their floors. This case is just fascinating from every angle. The planning, the execution, the long unsolved mystery, and the eventual breakthrough. It's a real-life crime thriller that shows you the lengths people will go to for money, and the patience law enforcement needs to bring them to justice. What do you think is the most impressive part of this heist? The engineering of the tunnel? The sheer patience of the thieves? Or the fact they got away with it for so long? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most audacious crimes, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.